If you wanted to make a complaint to me because you know me, the ethics board, you might not do that. You can say, you know, I give you this complaint for your consideration. Please review it. If it's more appropriate for the ethics board, send it to the ethics board, and I'll refer to them. What I do, though, just so you're clear, every of those 46, I'll get back to the second part of your question. Every time something comes into my office, I do what I consider a preliminary review. And those are the items that I said 46. There's a lot of things that don't even raise to that level. We do a preliminary review. We might make a determination that there's nothing that needs to be done. Or we might refer it to a body. Or we could do an investigation. It could be, many of those items concern allegations of employee misconduct. Some of them are not substantiated. We don't go public with them. So yes, there's a certain element of things that we just don't, it's not a public document which we're not going to release.
But a lot of the stuff that would be like, that wouldn't be protected by those kind of issues, I mean, as an education thing, I think it would be helpful for people to know when you have said, well, this is not really my purview, this should go to the ethics board, or this should go to an agency as opposed to being handled by me. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not exactly. But let me just, so some other things that, you know, we do. Every year we analyze the Board of Education's budget. We analyze the city's budget. Those are projects that my staff works on. So why do we do that? So we want to look to see if there's areas which we think should be subject to our own review down the road. To understand the workings of government, to understand government, you need to know the budget. You have to follow the money. Those would be two other items that are internal to my office, which there's no report. I mean, we have internal spreadsheets and documents that we create, but it's not something that, you know, if there's an outcome of some of these things that you're talking about. So there's no report. There's specifically, we just do the work and it's in our body of knowledge.
I think, I think that I'm hearing you, correct me if I'm wrong, that you feel that any inquiries made to the Inspector General's office should be public. And
unless it's protected, you know.
Well, I guess you always have to weigh.
And what the outcome was in terms of
that somebody could be conducting, for lack of a better term, a witch hunt, or have a vendetta, and you don't want to destroy somebody's reputation.
We don't.
Because of
generally our personnel matters we don't.
Of course.
We don't. So that's a lot of them. The public reports are the ones that we do when we do informal investigation. We do reviews at the request of the mayor, at the request of the city council, and the ones that we think are appropriate. But we do receive complaints and emails and letters and things, and we look at them and we'll do a preliminary review. Usually if the complainant puts their name on it, Martin, I must have said something to you, or someone, I don't know. We say we review it, we tell them why we don't think it's appropriate for our office, and we refer them, or maybe it's not even a city matter. So if there is a person's name to that, we do get back to them. But do we issue that to the public? Do we put everything on the website? No. I mean, we're not trying to grandstand or to make these records. We're not a public office in which, I mean, if you foiled me, I would have to consider whether those things would be foilable. I don't have an opinion on that. But if there were exceptions to the FOIL, I would assert them if I thought that it was in the best interest of not only my office, but the people the confidentiality of what we do.
Did you have a question?
I do. Bill, in the subject that's come up of the mayor's flyer that was mailed out, you said at one point that that you didn't think it was a factual question because the factual was stipulated. To me, the issue would be whether or not it was a political mailer, and I don't think that the mayor has stipulated the fact.
Well, no, and the question though is, was it abuse of his office? In other words, was it not for a municipal purpose? So that you have to take a look at. The facts are he sent the mailer. Here's the mailer. Right? That's what I'm saying, stipulated. Now the question is, was it improper in some ways? Who decides that? Well, that would be the ethics board applying the standards in our charter and looking at similar laws. And they're the judges of that matter. And if there are no standards, to begin to create a case law or some body of law to consider them what they're going to be considered.
Yes, typical.
I guess I'd just be interested in hearing your thoughts whether or not you think it would be appropriate and feasible for your office to undertake a performance review or an operational review, if that's the correct term, of FOIL procedures, policies and procedures, and look at how the city responds to requests for documents and municipal authorities like the IDA, the CDA.
I think that could be something. I'm not so sure I want to weigh into that. I mean, I think it could be appropriate if there was a need. The reason why I'm saying I don't know sure I want to do that is because there's the state office run by Bob Friedman who basically issues these advisory opinions. Whether people follow his opinions are a different thing. If there was an indication that there was a problem, per se, with FOIL, and I know it's an issue that you're involved with, but if there, and I know you've had some issues with FOIL that we've looked at. We've touched on FOIL. There was a FOIL related issue with the inventory at the Board of Education, where, remember the missing pianos?
Mm-hmm.
That was all started by, really a faulty FOIL process in which incomplete documents. Earlier today, someone asked the question, is that going to be released to the press? And the question was, you don't have to until it's a final document. What happened in there, documents were released which were not in their final form, that laid incomplete, were misleading, frankly, to the TV station that was involved. And it created a firestorm. So you don't want to release those types of documents. But if there were a problem, to answer your
Can I
question.
just sort of clarify my question for you? Because I'm really thinking more positively and proactively, which is how to make the process of responding maybe more uniform and more efficient, the use of technology, how to frankly save money for the city.
Yes, that could be something we would do. Whether I would do that, it depends. And you see, what happens every year, I try to think what should we do, and inevitably we get derailed because something like a test tampering comes in, and you don't get to do what you want to do, or you do something and it leads to, it's a preliminary review, and you thought you were going to do a big review on it, and you didn't. So I'm not sure that's at the top of my list. You can suggest it, Deborah. Go ahead.
All right, I guess
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, can I just ask you just on the FOIL issue? If the record on the FOIL issue, there are lots of FOIL requests that are being ignored. So just to be proactive as well, should we suggest that as well as CCing Robert Freeman, they also CC your office, so you have basically a file of what exactly has been not granted for whatever reasons? If
you have a complaint, FOIL or anything else, that you think a city official or individual employee has acted inappropriately, it's appropriately to lodge that complaint with my office. What I'll do with it is I'll evaluate it and make a decision.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just to compliment you on your good work and the importance of it.
Good. Enjoy it.
I want to thank you.
Enjoy it.